The Power Rangers are in space again. Now I thought Dino Fury Megazord was going to be the beautiful dinosaur-themed bookended conclusion to the main series Megazords, but best laid plans and all that. Complicated reboot progression led to a late order for a 30th and new final season of the show, Power Rangers Cosmic Fury, so we have another ugly anniversary Megazord to deal with now. We're in a unique situation here because I think this is the first Megazord review I've ever done before even seeing it in action on a Power Rangers episode. Sure, we can see the Q Ranger footage, so we know how it will transform, and now we have the Zord names, but where it comes from, how it comes to be, it's all mysterious at the moment. Though this being Power Rangers, they'll just get it and use it and not think too deeply on it, I'm sure. So let's talk about the toy, because this is quite an important checkpoint for the line. I just wish I had more positive things to say about it. Onto toy history. Q Renault was a 2017 Bandai Japan mecha release from Q Ranger, and you have to appreciate this being a Megazord that Bandai America apparently had involvement in the design process of, because they had expected to have needed to adapt it for Power Rangers when they were still involved around 2016 to 2017. Funny that we've taken the long way around to get back to the last thing Bandai America worked on in the 5th year of new owner Hasbro's run. And about Hasbro's first half decade, I still find it really shocking that as early as their 2nd year, they took a break from Zords for the TV series, and of course didn't do the Beast X King Zord. So season 27 is the only season of Power Rangers where you don't have a Megazord toy to represent it. For every other season, at least one Megazord toy was released. And this is probably going to be it for season 30, give or take some auxiliary Zords. Perhaps in the style of Dino Fury's Ultra Zord set, they'll release them with red again. There actually is precedent for that in the Q Ranger footage, apparently, having a clone version of the Lion Zord. But yeah, I kinda hope not. And speaking of the past, I'm really reminded of the season 25 Blaze Megazord from Super Ninja Steel. That was Bandai America's last Megazord toy, and that was as basic as this. It did have some nice metallic paint on, to be fair, and introduced translucent plastic on the Red Ranger Zord, but yeah, in terms of transformation, it had frightfully similar complexity levels. You basically had one big Zord centerpiece, and then everything else just clips on. Very interesting that for the final Megazord in our current 30th and final season of Power Rangers, Hasbro have bucked their recently established trend from the past few years of releasing Megazords and Zords way too late. The Metro Zord appeared as a toy 2 years after it appeared on screen. Dino Fury Megazord and Beast Morphers came half a year in as well. This one arrived for me a month and a half before the series was set to even air, which is a Hasbro best so far, and very similar to back when Bandai would debut the new line around Black Friday ahead of a February series premiere. I guess this works for Hasbro because they removed the series from the traditional February start date to the end of September. But if they had stuck with regular traditional show timings of February, Cosmic Fury Megazord still would have been 6 months late. They've timed the show as late in the year as they can, while still hoping to create buzz for holiday sales of toys and sort of preparing us for the forthcoming dark times, seemingly without any new episodes of anything. They've done a pre-premiere release for the Morpher as well, and there's something kind of exciting about that because you can get to know them and then revise your experience after you see how they're actually used in the show. Talking about the design then, well, it's worth mentioning the animal changes. Swordfish is Cosmic Shark. Yeah, babe, this is no shark. I don't know what to tell you. It's a swordfish. Lion, wolf, bull, chameleon, and shark. The product description refers to it as a cameleo, so not sure if that's a typo or an intentional attempt at removing a syllable. I guess, does it work as a sort of legendary Megazord, where each Zord references another season? Lion, for example, has been done a lot in Power Rangers, even as a red one in Wild Force. The wolf, yet again, has had many renditions, I would say most famously used by Billy during season 3. And wouldn't you know, the show looks to have him piloting this one too. The bull reminds me of Adam's one from Zeo. The shark could be Wild Force. Swordfish could even be samurai. And Chameleon, there's not actually a lot of these, but Jungle Fury did have one. So they're all Zords that we've seen before, but never bundled together in the same Megazord. While it would have been nice narrative cohesion to have ended with Dino Fury, as the actual narrative of the story didn't close, I'm glad that they are continuing, hopefully for a proper happy ending this time, and at least we have Zords that sort of call back to the past of Zords. It's not something unfamiliar, it's in a way a sensible approach for season 30. So the price of this thing on release is deplorable, $73 before shipping. I am truly bamboozled by this decision. To put that into perspective, that's kind of like buying the T-Rex Champion Zord, the Terror Free Zord, and the Moser Razor Zord. And you had much greater play potential with those. And you got a lot more plastic out of it. And yet at the same time, I kind of have to admire how evil genius this is. Because by setting a mountain of a price, it alienates older fans like me because, well, look at it. This thing is not worth $73, especially when, as many have pointed out, the going rate for the 6-year-old Q Renault is only $13 more, and that's bigger, better quality plastic, and it has an electronic light and sound feature. But people like me, who are Power Rangers diehards, are going to pay that inflated fake price and justify it that we're doing some sort of service for you guys by sharing our thoughts on it. Look, already over 100 have bought it this month. The diehards among us out there have showed up for this. Let's hope that we do for the HasLab. But August is not traditionally a toy buying season. Think about when the discounts come in time for holiday purchases, when this thing inevitably drops to the price it's actually worth, which is probably about $37, then parents will think they've got an amazing deal just in time for Christmas. They'll see 50% off and they'll think, great, do it. Hasbro definitely are experimenting here with what they can get away with. Those of you that saw my initial post about this on my Power Rangergram account will know that my main takeaway was in the disappointment of articulation being so sorely reduced in this one. Hasbro have set out their stake that their Power Rangers Megazord releases were more articulated versions of what you got in Japan, and for the best part of the last 5 years, that's been the difference maker. That's why it's been possible to recommend their stuff as a healthy alternative, even with the drawbacks like not being able to complete a line. With Cosmic Fury Megazord, that advantage has been removed. Sure, they give it waist articulation for some reason, but that's it. Everything else is as movable as it was on the original toy anyway. Even the box seems to suggest that it has more posability than it does. It can't do anything with its hips or knees this time. A great decline from the Dino Fury line. The result is something that doesn't seem as carefully designed, like the team at Hasbro only had mere days or a limited parts budget to work with, and therefore they kept things as simple as possible. The result is the Megazord is mostly a brick, reminding me of Bandai America's worst efforts. Ironically, it's been Hasbro's recent efforts, I think, that caused Bandai Japan to sit up and work on what they were putting out, and now Sentai mecha releases are super articulated, and though Hasbro had a year or two to be proud of their innovation, we've now swapped back again. The US is running in second place compared to Japan's mecha releases. This follows the more recent Megazord trend of having a really basic transformation. There's nothing wow about this Megazord. I've always thought that since first seeing it in 2017 for Q Ranger. It's a core foundational belief of mine that a Power Rangers season toy line needs at least one Megazord. It's always better to get something than nothing, season 27 again. However, sometimes it can come really close to the point where you wonder why they bothered. For the previous 4 seasons, the appeal of buying the Hasbro version, despite never finishing a Zord line, has been the different experience of having more posability on all of them. They managed to create a very different toy. This time, however, there's none of that. If I didn't have this channel, I wouldn't have this toy. It's boring. New information about the series is coming out all the time, possibly trying to mute the flow of negativity about the toys, and just since receiving it, we've now had confirmation that the gumballs, that Sentai fans refer to of course as Qtamas, are called the Cosmic Orbs in Power Rangers. I do wonder if they'll do the gimmick thing of recent seasons, where they start off small in hand, and then a chucked away and grow giant for the Zords. The Morpher does seem to have one inside of it, but obviously for the toy version it's built in. They're not doing a traditional toy collectible gimmick this season. And yeah, it just lights up different colours, and that actually does seem on brand with what's going on with these. The Cosmic Orbs are very repetitive and take up way too much space in the overall design of the robot. Usually the gimmick is done much more subtly than this. Think about Dino Charge, where the Dino Chargers were concealed within the dinosaurs. The transformation potential is minimal. The line builds to something I'm not really bothered by. However, I did feel similar about Dino Fury when I only knew it as Ryu Soldier, and I did mellow over that in time because of Hasbro's Megazord efforts. Also, it was a dinosaur themed season, so I naturally feel compelled to buy it. I did hope that Hasbro would have had a few more tricks up their sleeve to make their version for Cosmic Fury a bit more interesting. Let's talk about differences to the original then. And lights and sounds are a tried and true ditch from Power Rangers toys, and it's no change here, unfortunately. There's also no getting away from how tiny this thing is, especially when compared to the suite of other recent Hasbro efforts, which this is still smaller than all of them. This is small when compared to the Sentai version, to Hasbro's recent efforts, even to the smallest Power Ranger Megazords of all time. I think like Lightspeed Megazord is the smallest one that I own, and that's still taller than this. Photos taken beside Q-Reno shows the decrease that this thing got as well. But that's not the only way they've bucked the trends of the past few years of Megazords, and of course, not in a good way. Is the Power Rangers Zord Link compatibility anything worth doing? Well, that's a difficult one. It's there, but it's so limited. Effectively, you can plug things onto the ports, but there's so few Zords where it works, I'm not sure it's actually worthwhile. Here's a creative creation of mine where I've finally managed to use all 8 Zord Link arm pieces, more on those later. I much prefer taking the Cosmic Fury Zords and combining them with the Dino Fury base Zords. It did take a lot of effort and parts from the T-Rex, Moser Razor and Terra Freeze in order to create this thing, a pseudo Cosmic Ultra Zord perhaps. Just don't ask it to raise its arms or move too quickly on its rather uneven feet. What about the other way then? Putting Cosmic Fury stuff on the Dino Fury T-Rex Champion? Well, you can make a Christmas tree Megazord with a nice even spread of baubles. I'm afraid it's a bit like Bandai with Zord Builder in that Hasbro never asked themselves that just because they could doesn't mean that they should. I guess it is a way to gloss over Hasbro never completing a Zord line though, isn't it? Oh, it's fine, just make them intercompatible. Of course, the Boom Studios comics love making up junky, impossible Megazords anyway, and now you can do it yourself at home. What's bad about it then? Oh, blimey, where to start? The Cosmic Orbs, for me, are the big sticking point, or not, as the case may be here. They're quite challenging to unclip. They're held on by just 2 contact pieces, only the bottom of which seems to be holding it on as a clip. The top is more of a guiding piece. Get your grip right, angling it from the bottom, and it's fine removing it from the Megazord, but for something this difficult, I would have loved like an unclip button, the kind like we got on the Go-Kai-O toy from the Go-Kaija toy line from Bandai Japan, where you can release the auxiliary Zords from inside the Ranger's Zord compartments by pressing these subtle buttons on the back of the Megazord. Maybe that's too bougie, and the clip method works fine when you get the 45-degree upturned knack of it right. But it's just a little bit violent. This is a criticism that I've given multiple times during Hasbro era Zords. There's not the fluid buttery clipping that Bandai were really good at. These clips feel much more abrasive when you're playing with these things. Often when I've unclipped something, I've had to pause and check that everything is okay because it's such a violent jerk. It's like, whoa, did I just snap something off? And maybe this is commonplace and maybe I'm overthinking it, but it just makes you appreciate the days where you had things where the toy clips were much steadier and less jarring. It's a hard thing to try and explain, but if you can, take one of the Bandai Megazords and take one of the Hasbro Megazords and transform them, and hopefully you'll get what I mean. The other thing that sucks about the Cosmic Orbs being too tight is the exact opposite problem in that the Zord Link port that connects them to the Zord is often too loose. And I'm definitely thinking of getting a replacement for mine because of how rubbish the blue Cosmic Orb is at holding on to anything. As a toy, it's generally missing a lot of paint. It's such a shame when Dino Fury was actually pretty generous, only omitting the odd detail that you could actually live without. Here the toy looks more basic because of it, and I've noticed that a lot of buyers are already customizing their versions already. The abundance of grey plastic is a bit of a shame too. It's very, very grey, not helped by all the bonus pieces also being grey. Yeah, it definitely must have been the cheapest way for them to produce those parts. Now the Lion and Chameleon Zord mouths open because of transformation reasons, but they have made it possible for the Bull and Wolf Zords to open their mouths too. Unfortunately, the Shark or Swordfish Zord can't. You'd think a shark being able to open its mouth would be quite a basic or wanted feature, but I guess not. I'm assuming it's because the entire sword blade angles up as though it's a tiny stubby power sword for the Megazord, and of course a toe when used as a leg. Perhaps it was too complicated to make it split open as well. But yeah, a bit weird. One of the 5 Zords can't do it, but the others can. And to be fair, Lion Zord can't really open its mouth because you'd then just see it's swallowed a Megazord's face. On to what's good about it then. Well, honourable mention time. Firstly, the box. I really like the box for this. The artwork is great. Though the double Power Rangers logo on the front seems to me like a mistake, and that it should be maybe just the Cosmic Fury emblem up top. No, there's nothing flashy on the inside of it, just plain cardboard, but it also isn't a design where you have to sacrifice it just to get into it. I could easily put everything back as it came, and I like that about it. Alien Ranger set could have learned something from this. It's sensible, it's compact, it's not flashy, but I like it. Next up, it's something only given a brief note on the instructions, but not featured anywhere on the box. It's that you can swap the limbs around completely. Any Zord can be an arm or a leg, and so you can swap them, and technically they're supposed to be able to use different weapons, I guess. I'm not sure what the wolf does, we'll find out. Obviously the design of these things means that the legs do look quite beefy as arms, and the new legs look a little too nimble to be there full time, but hey, I appreciate that they made it possible. Even if the way the boy Zords connect as arms means they can't rotate fully because the arm stuff is in the way from the Lion Zord. You can rotate the heads around sideways to cheat it though. The Zord Link port retains rotation, so you can rotate the Cosmic Orbs for Megazord formation without needing to unclip them. I know a few people were concerned about that. While I don't stand by their decision to give us yet more of these dumb arm pieces, our 7th and 8th in 3 years, this time they're being used as feet. Ironically, I don't think they've ever actually been used as arms, have they? The power swords don't even fit in the handholds anyway. They also don't fit in any of the Dino Fury Zord hands. Very strange. I do think it's kind of cool actually that they found a way to give the Cosmic Lion Zord its own freestanding battle mode, and I feel like that's the influence of Beast Morphers and Dino Fury's Red Ranger Zords having their own independent battle modes to begin with. The way they do it is quite effective by clipping on the red Cosmic Orb, and then you'll need a second one, and I like that you don't have to rob one from one of the Orc Zords. They give you a champagne coloured one for the Zenith or Ghost Ranger or whatever we're calling Zato now. This to me suggests that maybe he could be co-piloting the Lion with Amelia, similar to how Tommy and Kat co-piloted the White Shogun Zord, possibly another Season 3 reference. But admittedly, we know that they're using the Cosmic Orbs as their seated cockpits, and they're quite small, so technically there's nowhere for Zato to go in the regular Megazord formation, and we know we're not going to see this toy exclusive version on the show. I just thought it would have been nice for him to be training Amelia how to be a Red Ranger. Then again, in Once and Always, they did show that they can do their own Zord footage now, so maybe we will see this toy exclusive mode after all. No, to be honest, I didn't even believe myself when I said that. I don't think we'll be seeing it. So you then clip on the aforementioned arms. Now as feet, the hands go at the back. I did wonder at first if they went facing frontways, so that the hands could be the toes, but no, it's the other way around because the Zord legs are so dense in the back. Up top, there are concealed arms and hands. Actual hands on a Megazord that doesn't get them any other way. That means it can now hold dual-wielding power swords, very much from the design inspiration of the Chroma Fury Saber. The resulting toy exclusive mode is definitely lacking because of all the hollow recesses in its arms and chest, but the hands and swords do mean that you get another experience out of this thing. Hasbro have loved giving us these, well, what if modes during all of Dino Fury. Usually it was to make the Zord pack more playable on its own. I do wonder if there was a version of events where the red Zord released single box style, like the Dino Fury Zords were released as, and maybe they thought they needed to give it more action. Anyway, those 5 additional parts make for a fun alternative way to play, and I've got to commend them for that, because that's something you don't get from Bandai Japan's version, which hails exclusively to screen accuracy. It's hard to get toy exclusive modes right, and this is a rare hit rather than a miss. Something else quite good is the bonus piece that you get with the Orc Zords, a sort of ramp or shuttle booster piece I guess it's going for, definitely in the same vein as the Thunder Zord Assault Team sled from Season 2. That functionality mirrors or rather repeats now the Power Rangers Season 1 to 2 Dinosaur to Mythic Zord changes being repeated, I guess. You basically clip everything onto it and it gives you both a nice display stand and a great way to mimic this thing flying around. Unlike either Bandai version of the Thunder Zord Assault Team, I'm happy to report that everything is clipped in well and you can go for it with this thing. They even found a way to secure a Megazord with angled feet by having a pivoting platform for it to clip into. I did try it without the arm pieces though, and unfortunately it's a no, so yeah, you do have to use them. I don't mind leaving the Megazord faceplate closed so it looks more like a lion man, given that none of the other Orc Zords are transformed in this form either, and the Megazord isn't properly assembled. It's weirdly effective how you see it as more of a lion once that mouth is closed. Anyway, this is the best, cleanest way to use all the pieces from the set in one go. Now they also suggest that you clip the platform onto the back of the Megazord, however I'm not convinced by this. It restricts the rest of the already limited posability you get. You can't move the arms or the waist once you put this on there, and it's connected only with the usual friction method of attachment, which doesn't really work for something this large. There's also no easy way to clip everything onto the Megazord because there are so many pieces. You can just about do this, but I don't think it looks very good. There's nowhere central to put Zeto's orb, and because of the clip recesses for the Orc Zords, the swords don't have mirrored positions either. You can bizarrely lower the retractable arms, but still hidden by the main arm Zords up front, and put the swords in backwards, so there's an option, but there's a lot going on the back now. As an alternative, you can just about rest the Megazord on the platform, and all the other parts are just gonna have to go over to the side. Or, how about this? I guess the one who removed the Dino Fury Megazord codpiece stud ports wasn't paying as much attention this time around if they're still involved. Overall, I like what they did here. The Dino Fury bonus pieces have been so forgettable so far, but here there's actually something notable that you can do, and that presents an indirect callback to Mighty Morphin of old, Season 2 Assault Team style. It's a durable toy, I can't not mention this given what a hard time I gave Beast Morphers for their plastic quality. This is still nice feeling plastic, which is a relief. It's also actually oddly heavy for being so stubby, like it looks cheap and tiny, but it feels deceptively weighty. So Cosmic Fury Megazord is a recommend if you can wait on the inevitable half-price sale on it and don't care about completion. That's been a given with Hasbro's Zord efforts for the half-decade they've held the franchise, unfortunately. As I said during Dino Fury, if and when they do bring the franchise back, I think we can expect a much lower Zord count for each series. They've shown zero interest in delivering to the same standard and frequency of the Bandai efforts here. They're undoubtedly balance sheet driven. If there's not enough appetite for multiple sets by retailers, then they're not going to be doing multiple sets. If they can't profit, they won't produce. It's harsh, and in a grown-up way, you can appreciate it. It just sucks to grow up sometimes. So yeah, a very mixed bag for what is once again our final Team Default Megazord release for now. We've been in this boat before several times, so I hope we don't cling to this for very long, because as a Power Rangers Megazord, this is as paint by numbers as it gets. The franchise has done much greater than this throughout its 30-season duration, and it always disappoints me to end with something that is far lesser than what came before it. You could say, don't shoot the messenger, they were just adapting Sentai, but even when US exclusive Megazords have been gross movie remakes of Sentai ideas, you can see why I'm cautious about which direction we're headed in. Fingers crossed, folks, that one day in the future, Power Rangers can make Megazords mega again, because this one is just mid. So thanks for watching this one, and thanks of course to my Viewing Globe tier Patreons. I'm hard at work on lots of vids at the moment, so it's going to be a good few months on the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'm excited for it all, sadly a bit more than I am for this. So it goes. Until next time then, it's bye from me, and see you later.